of Whitworth University. Out to Eagle Smith, 2 ball or 3. Give it 3. It's stolen away by Watts. He'll take it up and lay it up and down, and Watts extends the lead.
Track Guide, Bearcat Hoop, Where Are They Now series is back. This is our second off season where we're able to conduct about these 20 to 30 minute interviews with former players of the program and get everybody out there, family and friends and fans of our Bearcat Hoop men's basketball program here at Willamette University, updates on where our former players are at, their families, their careers, their lives, and hopefully along the way get some funny stories reminiscent about their time in the Cardinal and Gold. Today, we're bringing you another Where Are They Now with Bearcat Hoop. Where Are They Now? Bearcat Hoop Season 2, Episode 3. Excited to connect with this guy. We've been playing text tag for a long time because his life, I follow him on Instagram, so I feel like I know where he is, but I can't get him on the phone ever, which is pretty normal. It's not a dig, AB. But Alex Brown, class of 2016, is with us. AB, how you doing, man?
Doing well.
And so I want to get started, Bear. Let's go. A lot of these start with playing days, playing career. So let's start back in recruiting to one of the best and most hospitable home visits of all time with Steve and Sherry, your parents. But you were kind of a late get for us because I'm not sure where you were thinking about in college. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fun story to talk about how we ended up getting you out of Clackamas High School to come down in the Cardinal and Gold. And I know your visit day, there was a great campus thing going on as well.
Oh, man.
So go ahead. Go back in the day for us.
Right, yeah. So for me, I remember you guys kind of had interest after, I think it was a big game I had early preseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think Coach Plank, shout out Coach Plank, somehow found my parents in the stands. I think someone was yelling out, "Who's the parents of Alex Brown?" or something along those lines. So ended up, getting in contact with them. You guys reached out, and there's a couple other schools that I was looking at in the Northwest Conference. A couple of rival schools, PLU and Lewis and Clark. And long story short, with a couple of those, they wanted me to take a couple summer classes, or I was missing credits or something along those lines. So, the whole deal with, you guys coming out, and, I felt the instant connection with you guys, and just you guys being a player coach and kind of, putting what I was looking for in a college basketball experience out there, and just being organic and real. I think that's really, really what drew me in. Obviously the campus, beautiful campus, down in Salem, Oregon, and like you said, on my recruiting trip, we're sitting in Gowdy, and the classic, I think they do it once a year, Naked Mile goes by, and so that was pretty funny, just to see that type of stuff on campus, and just being kind of a more out there school was intriguing for me. I was looking for a smaller, kind of tight knit community, and that's exactly what Willamette is. So.
Well, and I think that's hilarious. You say that real and organic piece. I appreciate that, because that's absolutely what we try to sell. But for you, like we weren't trying to hide anything. I don't. Do you remember who your hosts were on the visit? Who were you with?
I think I want to say Alex Hansen and Avery.
And Alex and Avery. And I knew the Naked Mile. For those of you out there that don't know Willamette lore, a group of kids every year just decides to run a long ways with body paint only on, and they make their way through the campus. And there's always emails and texts and all this angst of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I was like, you know what? If he sees it, he sees it. It's part of what happens around here, and it didn't cost you. It didn't cost us you.
Absolutely not.
So I want to go to your playing career. You had a great career for us, but yours was one of a lot of your resiliency was tested because you were, the unfortunate luck of some injuries. And so you're a guy that had to go through a different year of just watching, dealing with your injury, but then coming back. Just go through, kind of give us the synopsis, because you had a great experience, but you also had to really show some intestinal fortitude.
Yeah, totally. I think for me, even just coming out of coming out of being kind of, you know, the guy in high school, and then, you know, coming into a group of guys with, you know, Taylor Mounts, Ryan Meehan, you know, Oliver Hughes, you know, Leo Labello, really, really great players that were there. I learned very quickly that, you know, I got to be in the gym, you know, before, after practice, you know, getting shots up, doing stuff like that. So I learned very early that, you know, nothing was going to be given to me. It was all about, you know, that work ethic and putting my time in and just, you know, praying on that opportunity. When it was there, I was ready. And I think, you know, sophomore, junior year, I started to get a better feel of things, was playing some more, starting. And then, yeah, a game against Corbin University my senior year. You know, I had a fast break layup, and shout out Coach Lewis, even though he works for the other team now.
Yeah.
I think he yelled something like, "Dunk that!" And, you know, normally I'm not, you know, really, really trying to go up like that.
Right.
You know, I went for it and felt something pop in my knee, and, you know, unfortunately ended up tearing my patella in my knee, and had to sit out the rest of that year, which was tough just for me, for all the work that I put in the off season and all that type of stuff. But also just wanting to be out there, you know, with my good friends and, you know, my classmates at Kyle and Talanoa and Robbie Gibbs and Joe Jack and all those guys, and, you know, them ending up having a great year was a great thing for me, but also, you know, it was tough for me to be there from the sidelines, but you know, I was able to learn to lead from the sidelines and just be able to, you know, be that guy in the locker room that was encouraging these guys and doing all that type of stuff. So
yeah, do you think that was kind of the genesis of your, I don't want to say coming out of your shell, because it's not like you were, you know, ever like withdrawn or isolated, but you could see, I mean, number one, it's impressive when somebody that's out for the year with a medical is at practice every day, which you were. Right. And then another thing, like you kind of mentioned, we make the playoffs for the first time in 15 years that year. Right. And you're having to watch. But it was also the first time I saw you taking younger kids aside. You know, that was Nico and B's freshman year, and I was the first time. It was kind of like, man, that's why AB should be a captain next year. Like, look at what he's doing kind of behind the scenes. Was that where it kind of like you were like, that was a choice you made personally, or did just kind of that was an opportunity that you could show what you already were about?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it was understanding kind of just like, okay, I've been through this. You know, I've been here for 4 years, and we got a great group of guys coming in, and, you know, I can be that mentor to them that Taylor and Oliver were to me. So it's kind of just like giving back, you know, that, you know, community and brotherhood that I'd seen for 4 years, and being like, yo, like, these guys can really hoop. Like, you know, if they get their heads on straight and understand, you know, getting shots up, getting in the weight room, you know, lifting during season, all that type of stuff. So for me, that was a different opportunity for me, but something that I think definitely got me out of my shell and kind of just helped with my confidence, even on the court. Yeah, that next year was super huge for me.
And going into that, you know, that's a great segue to your senior year, where you end up being with a class that was below you, but, you know, you and Bubba and Bridge are seniors, and we went to Costa Rica as a team. Shout out to Josh Erickson and Beyond Sports, Beyond Study Abroad. Two things from that. One, I want to tell the story of the freaking gym that was maybe concrete and 5 bleachers where your shoulder got injured, but also the fact that you got to share that trip. Your dad was able to accompany with us, you know, and I had met your dad and knew him, but had never had, you know, there was some hesitation on our end, like, man, we got a parent going with us. But it ended up being the greatest thing ever, and able to develop, you know, a lifelong friendship with your dad. So talk about both those aspects. We go down there for a week. We're playing 5 games. You get injured in freaking Costa Rica. You know, go through, tell kind of those stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was amazing opportunity for me, just being, you know, at the time kind of thinking about, like, man, do I want to kind of play overseas? Do I want to try to pursue this kind of going out and doing that type of stuff? And then on top of that, having my dad there for all that speaks to, you know, you guys as a whole, and just like really preaching that family and community. So that was amazing to be in another country. I'd never been outside of the country. And to not only share those with my teammates, but to have my dad there and to share those things with him, and for him to kind of see that and be there, especially, you know, in my last year playing, I think that was super special for him to be there, not just me come back and show him pictures and videos, but
right,
to be there, see the culture, see everything. That was a treat. Yeah, I think that last game, man, that was tough.
What was it? We were playing the Costa Rican under-23 national team.
Yeah, right. And we had been playing solid. We had been, getting wins. I've been playing pretty good. In my mind, I'm thinking, all right, this is good. Hopefully talk to some coaches, second half, end up going to tip a pass, and shoulder pops out of place, and I look back, and, I can't see my shoulder. It's in the back of my arm, and all that type of stuff. So I guess just for me going through that was kind of like one of those signs of like, okay, this is, I shouldn't try to continue to pursue basketball after this, playing overseas or anything.
Yeah.
So I think that was, it sucked that it happened. And in my mind, I'm like, man, am I going to be out for, my fifth year? How am I going to come back from that? So it was another one of those things that I'd been through the injury thing before, I'd been through the rehab stuff. And for me, it was just like, I'm going to do everything I can to get back on the court and, get to as close as 100% as I can to help.
And to everybody out there, one of the few things, only thing I had to tell AB throughout his last year when he had this shoulder that he played the entire year with was stop doing upside down push-ups up against the wall, which speaks to his dedication and that class's dedication in the weight room. But, you played that whole year with trying different things with a long sleeve, then some kinesio tape or whatever it's called. And then I think by the end, weren't you pretty much out of anything? You were just playing.
Yeah, I think those things became a little mental block for me, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pretend like it's not there, and if it pops out again, then it pops out again. But, I was just trusting, everything I had going and all the work that I put in, that, things would work out, ended up,
For sure. And you had a great...
Anything out, I was fine,
Yeah, I mean, you averaged double figures. You had huge games for us. So I think that speaks a lot to your resiliency and your faith, to work through that. Now, segueing, this is one of the most unique stories I think we've done on Where Are They Now is what you're doing and kind of the genesis we could see your last couple of years, your interest in just fashion, pop culture. At the time, you're thinking as yourself, like, what is this kid doing with these jeans? What, Coach Mack and I are asking ourselves, what's going on with Bear today? But talk about where that started, and then you can lead into all the great things you're doing now.
Yeah, totally. So going back to my first injury when I tore my patella in my knee and I had to sit out that year, that was kind of the first time that basketball had not been the entire focus of my life. So I kind of had to sit back and reflect and be like, yo, what am I interested in? What do I even, what do I like to do? Like, I was, rhetoric and media studies with you can do anything with that, but I was trying to kind of figure out some type of career path or something I was interested in. So while I was sitting out that year, ended up hopping on Craigslist, finding a sewing machine, going out to this country house in Salem, picking up a sewing machine for like $30 and just kind of YouTubing, teaching myself how to sew.
See, that was my next question. You didn't take home ec or anything? Like home ec is probably just dates me.
There was nothing that I had previously taken.
Okay.
It was kind of just like, all right, well, I've seen, shout out my grandma who's been altering my clothes my whole entire life, my mom and all that. I've been around sewing my whole life. So I think it was like, well, if they can do it, I could probably do this.
Right.
So it kind of just sparked. I was just getting old jeans from Goodwill and kind of ripping them up, tapering them up and actually giving them to my friends on campus. And I think what really hit home for me was I remember it was a random day and I'd given a pair of jeans to one of my friends, and to see him wear those pair of jeans, to see somebody wear what I created, kind of sparked that same fire and energy that I had on the court.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of just ran with that of like, okay, if I can, tell stories and, create product and kind of like make people feel a certain way about the clothes that I make them, I think there was something there. So, that was that was, I want to say 2015, 2016, and, I was the guy on campus with the man bun and the tattoos and the crazy clothes, and I kind of just ran with it, because, that's what people knew of me, and, people liked my stuff. So that was kind of the jump start to that. And I would say from there kind of to where I am now, obviously there's been a whole lot of progression, but it's really just been a learning experience for me because, like I said, I didn't go to school for fashion design or anything like that. It's kind of just been me coming up with these ideas and stories and, just reaching out to people that I know in Portland that can help me make things. And it's really been a huge, learning experience as I've gone, and I've been fortunate to have, 3 or 4 releases in the past couple of years that have been successful. I have some of my products in a store downtown Portland called Unspoken. So for me, that was a dream to be like, how cool would it be if I had my clothes in a store?
Yeah.
And for that to be real life now is something that I can look back on and, keeps me motivated and keeps me going.
I got so much there. I mean, it's been so fun to watch your journey, talk to your dad about what's AB doing in your garage right now. Well, something's going to come of it. I know, and the faith he had in you, and I know you had in yourself. But I've also noticed like you've been able to put product in some of your Instagram ads and your website on former teammates. And I know you and Leo were working on stuff together. So talk about kind of that carryover of the brotherhood into what you're still doing.
Yeah, so one of the brands I run is called Between the Lines, and I run that with former alumni Mr. Handle himself, Leo Labella. And basically, we just came up with the idea of like, we both love clothes and fashion and just kind of that whole world, and we were trying to think about, well, how can we come up with something that is organic, tells good stories, and the name Between the Lines basically comes from when we were there at Willamette, everything that we were doing when we were in between the lines, we were giving it 112%, whether that was, going and running at the track, getting in the gym, getting shots up, lifting, all that type of stuff. So we basically are playing off of, we're not necessarily between the court lines, but we're between a different set of lines, but we're still taking that same work ethic that was instilled in us in college and through the program. So that's been super fun. And yeah, like you said, we use Nico, pretty boy Nico as a model, which has been amazing, to have that family and relationship with guys that I played with, and, for me to hit them up and, at the drop of a dime, then be like, sure, I'll be down there tomorrow. So it's really been cool and fun for me. And that's part of the thing with anything I'm doing. I want to give back to people that help me out or people that are important in my life, and just, Willamette in general. And Bearcat Hoop is like, okay, how can I tie some of these stories that we're telling back to my basketball career at Willamette?
I'm on your website right now, alexjacksonbrown.com.
Yeah.
Is that the best place for people to go? Is there a different for access to everything? I mean, you've got so many projects working. Is that the best spot?
Right. Yeah. So that's basically my platform. There's a tab on there that you can shop, and it'll have available products, and then it'll also have past collections, and it has past stories and things written out that really tell the story about everything that I've done. And that's one of the biggest things that is important to me about creating and designing and all those things. Like, anybody can come up with a cool T-shirt with a logo on it, but for me it's really telling those stories and be able to connect to people that can relate to that.
Yeah.
It means something more to you. It's not just a pair of shorts. It's a pair of shorts that was inspired by the Supersonics and AAU culture and stuff like that. So
This being a creative, talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of opportunity and the joy and the passion, but there's got to be a little bit of self-doubt too, because you're constantly putting yourself out there in your clothes and your ideas. Touch a little bit about that. And is it similar at all, maybe before one of your launches or before you're posting a product? Is it similar to the nerves before a game?
Totally, 100%. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. It's a bit scary to everybody, like I said, you got a great idea, and it's like, oh, this is going to be great, but until you follow through with it, you put it out, it's right before you put it out, it is that same of, like, pre-game nerves of, I'll even do the same thing of where, I'll just chill and listen to music and kind of do the same things that I would do pre-game in the locker room before I'm dropping a release. It's been definitely a learning and growing experience and kind of understanding, what my consumer wants. But, I mean, with anything I'm putting out, I'm taking a risk of, well, hopefully people show up, hopefully people buy it. And I think, the first shirts I put out, I sold, 6 shirts. And, fast forward, 3-4 years later, and, I think Leo and I sold, I want to say, close to 80 pieces of apparel in our last release. So it's more of just having faith in yourself and trusting, your design, your, creative, ideas, and just bringing those to life in an organic way that people can really relate to.
For you, and you know me, I'm an analytics guy. How are you determining success? Is it purely the number? Like, you just mentioned, you obviously know how many we sold, what's the money.
Right.
Is that part of it? Give me the equation when hey, that was good.
Right. I think for me, on the statistics side, it's basically trying to just get back what I put into it. So for, this past collection, if we put in X amount of money, I'm trying to get that back on the return side. And then anything above that kind of just goes back into future projects that I'd like to work on. But I also think for me, it's just kind of like the response that I get from people in the community. Like I feel the biggest wins when, people DM me or message me and they're like, I just got your shorts, or I just got your pants. These are amazing. I appreciate the detail, or all the little things, the little tiny, intricate things that I put in there for people to receive the items and for them to notice that, like that's that feeling of me being on the court of, getting a layup and screaming and one under the hoop,
Right.
I think that's kind of where the big wins come, is when people, especially people that I respect, out here in Portland or LA or whatever, reach out and they're like, yo, like, I really love your product. I love what you're doing. I love how you're doing this, that, and the other thing. I think that's a big win anytime I can get that out of somebody.
Well, that's phenomenal perspective. For you, do you feel like your background in team, having been a basketball player your entire existence, right? Do you feel that comes into play? I'm looking at your site now. I mean, you're dealing with you can be a designer in the styling, but you also got to have videographers, you got to have photographers, I'm sure you're working with people on how do you present this on social media the best way possible. Has that helped? Is it been, talk about just that organizationally, how you're getting your stuff out there?
Yeah, I think, relating that back to basketball, it's just, developing relationships with your teammates. That's the biggest thing of, we bring in a group of 5 or 6 freshmen, and, off first glance, you might think, like, oh, yeah, I'm probably not going to be homies with him. Like anybody, it's like, I can't really relate, but those, you can develop, unique relationships with everybody, and everybody has a very unique skill set in their own. So I think, me, being a leader as I grew, junior, senior year, that helped me just being comfortable with people and just being myself, and just, reaching out and just developing organic relationships with people. I think that's been huge, especially because there's a lot of risk that goes into putting anything out there. But you can't be afraid to reach out to people. 100 people have told me no, but those 5 people that have told me yes, I've developed relationships with, and kept the ball rolling.
Right. This is random, but is it like Christmas time for the Brown family? Is Montana getting a bunch of between the lines gear? Man. Steve, do you got Steve in stuff yet?
Oh man, my dad has all the old Valley Works tees. His helping, he's got all the excess stuff. It's funny you said Christmas time.
Yeah.
This past Christmas, I gave my brother a pair of the shorts. So
Yeah.
they like that I'm involved with clothes, because any samples or anything that I don't keep for myself, I'm usually giving to them. Or
Yeah.
even Talanoa, big guy, one of my best friends
Right.
that I live with. His closet is full of my past releases and past mezzos, and this, that, and the other thing, which is pretty cool.
See, I think my kids, and because like my brother and I, we're coaches, right? So our families are always like, oh, here we go, new Bearcat stuff or new
Right.
Bobcat stuff. I think they'd much rather get between the line stuff than, oh, Dad, thanks for the next Bearcat jersey. Uncle Kane, appreciate the Montana State hoodie. I got 9 of them. Thanks a lot. How can people follow you, Bear? What's the best way? Is it Instagram?
Yeah.
Is it because I know you're everywhere?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is just at Alex Jackson Brown, and then the Between the Lines Instagram is tagged in my little bio
Okay.
on Instagram, and then I would say just my website, Alex Jackson Brown. That'll have you can take a deep dive into projects that I was working on in college back in 2015 that are on there kind of up to now, and all that type of stuff. We're actually doing a Between the Lines release this weekend.
Oh, hey, huge.
At Unspoken, downtown Portland, just doing a couple of shorts and tees and kind of playing off of North Carolina, Duke rivalry, stuff like that.
That's
So.
Hey, now do you and Leo, is it like you guys yelling at each other about ball screen defense sometimes?
Not so much. It's more like, yo, the shorts done. Yo, did you get the prints? Did you get this? Did you get that? So,
Yeah. Oh, hey,
yelling, but,
that's freaking awesome, man. There's so much. I feel like we got to bring you back later on because there's so many more questions I have for all the stuff you're doing.
Absolutely.
But super proud of you, bud, and appreciate you sharing the story with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drive and dribble, watch, double clutches, left side Barber for 3. Here's Sutton, great move to the hoop, spun, and he just schooled his defender.